Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to Under Construction. This is episode number 64, I believe. It is 64, full stack. And we are here up in the mountains along the Volga Mountains Railroad. Nothing really special going on out here, although I did do some scenery in the meantime. Again, nothing crazy. I just added a lot of trees. I started working on this culvert here, although it still looks kind of bleh. I'm just committed to using this. I don't think I'm going to change that very much. I need to do the ground here, I need to make that look nice. But we have a number of comments this week, and two of them asked me to do something in particular. I think something in particular? Yeah. So, something in particular. The first thing is Chris, and he says, more swamp, finish the job. And so I'm going to work on the swamp some more today. But also, Evan Vlogs, on his final portion of his comment, says, can you work on the scenery for the Horseshoe Corner, for the Horseshoe Corner? I think that's the name, he says. The name you think of, it's Bristol Curve, is what I named it. But yeah, it's a big horseshoe curve. It's just a more twisty horseshoe curve. Where's the grass? Where's the rest of the grass? There it is. I was really worried that I had broken it somehow, because I was working on stuff last night, and of course the game crashed, because that's what it does. And I was concerned that I had lost my progress. Or, well, no, I was concerned that I had lost the stuff that I was downloading, because I was downloading a lot of stuff for the route, but I was re-downloading some stuff that I had already downloaded. I was re-downloading some stuff that I had already downloaded. And that was primarily, I actually don't know what all of it was, but it was, whoops, that's the wrong button. It was stuff that is useful, or stuff that was modified, that I'm re-downloading from the DLS, so I get that little, installed from DLS thing instead of modified. It doesn't really change anything in the long run, but it is the kind of thing where I am, it helps me see when something's on the DLS more clearly. Again, it doesn't make that much of a difference. If I can't see it, it means I can't use it when I pull up that list of stuff that I have, and I mark it to installed from DLS. But the fact of the matter is, if I don't see it, I usually, my first thought is, oh, something's wrong, and not, oh, yeah, no, I just can't use it. And if I see it and it says modified, even though I've just pulled up stuff that is on the DLS, then I might write it off at a glance and not think too hard about it. I might make that mistake. And I don't want to, because that would lock me out of using some stuff that otherwise I could use. I started downloading a lot of Ben Dorsey's stuff, mostly bridges as well. Because I don't have too many lift bridges, swing bridges, bascule bridges, that sort of thing, to play with. Although I did forget that I have bridges downloaded that are, in here. If I pull up bridge, I do have quite a few, including this one, which is actually pretty cute. I should use this somewhere. Yeah, it's like a cute little culvert bridge. It's an interesting merge of the old and new. That's the thing, though. There's a lot of these that are really cute. Whew. Excuse me. Oh, these are actually really cool. There's a lot of these that are really cute. Oh, this is a narrow gauge bridge. WPNY, White Pass and Yukon, of course. Way Bridge. That's interesting. What the heck? Interesting. So it's just held there by compression and the very, very subtle arch. These are really cool, but I don't think I can use these. These might not be, Are these even the right gauge? They look like, I think they're broad gauge. No, I don't want bridge. I don't want 2-track. I just want bridge track. Like just regular old bridge track. That's TrueFoot. That's not helpful. Oh. Oh, it adjusts. It adjusts. How beautiful. Oh, I can definitely use these then. How about, just track wood. A, that track looks pretty good for being old style track, and B, I'm so happy that it adjusts. That's actually really cool. This bridge track. Although it wouldn't really matter. It looks good. It wouldn't really matter. Wow. No, I mean it. It looks really good. Alright. And then do that. I didn't even attach it. But that extends off the edge a little bit, so... Anyway, we're getting sidetracked here. I need to get back to work. Yeah, so I have a lot of bridges over, these guys. Stop board. Now, let's go back to bridge. What else have I got? Oh! Trestle bridge with pipe. And this is a skew trestle too. I really should make use of these. These are Ben Dorsey as well. Are these all skew? Weird. That is kind of weird. Don't you think that they're all just skew bridges? And we have these girders, but we can use some of that stuff. This is quite nice though. It's like I can get away with using splines for most of these though. That's the downfall of Ben Dorsey, is the fact that his stuff is really, really nice, but I wanted to raise that. Stuff is really nice, but it's all objects, and so I can't change the length of it at all. So, I don't know. There are good and bad things. This is really cool. This is like a small Poughkeepsie bridge. I could probably use that somewhere. This is the swing bridge. This is another swing bridge. And apparently it normally stays open. Our US bridge kit. Yeah, these pillars are really nice. Poughkeepsie Bridge, Port Clinton Lift Bridge, we've used that. Pontoon Bridge. This is that one. This is really cool. I'm going to use this somewhere. So, get ready. It's very similar to the one in, or to the one that was up along the Addison branch. I just have never looked at the whole animation for this. Oh wait, I thought this would go down when it... Oh, it does, but it goes down, like, earlier than I expected it to. Weird. I expected it to... Okay, yeah, no, and they lower it as it goes. I expected it to, it gets into place and then they lower it. Interesting. Very interesting. But yeah, that's something I'm going to use. Pin-connected truss bridge. We have this as a spline. Wooden overhead bridge. This is nice. I might have to use this somewhere. And this I plan on using. This New Haven rolling lift bridge. Medieval bridge. Hey, that's not supposed to do that. Oh, that's the other thing. This is one that you have to use invisible track for. Leaning bridge? Leaning truss bridge? I don't know what's leaning about it. Over bridge. Oh, that's one of those. Never mind. Sand tower. That's not a bridge. It's not a bridge at all. I think we've actually used that. somewhere. Forestall engine shed. That's not a bridge. Howard Street Bridge, Way Bridge, girder support, Forest River Bridge. Run, Forest. I will probably have to use that. Footbridge. Lots of these. Like, I'm glad that we have plenty of footbridges to deal with. This is really nice. I might have to use this somewhere. Culvert. Covered railroad bridge. I definitely plan on using this somewhere. And then the Clinchfield had a lot of these little bridges. These are all Ben Dorsey. But like I said, all of these things, you know, they sort of make me want to build a branch line. Some of these are pretty hefty, pretty good sized. But so many of them just make me want to build a branch line. And so I can't wait until I have the opportunity to do that. That's pretty cool. This is actually really nice. I'll have to use this somewhere. And then we've got this. So there are a lot of these. Clifton Suspension Bridge, the Celio Drawbridge, which this is something that I absolutely plan on using. Somewhere industrial. That's not a bridge. I don't even know what that's supposed to be. Bridge of the Gods. I don't know where this is, but it looks cool. Bridge kit. Laurel Line Bridge. That's cool. Another Laurel Line Bridge. That can be useful. Water Street Bridge Pier. BDW. Bridge ends. Office building. That's not a bridge. 4-track Poughkeepsie Bridge. That just doesn't seem right. Huh. And then we have all these iron bridges, which this is pretty cool. This is a really old style iron bridge. A lot of these are. You can tell because everything's spaced so close together. These are really cool. These are all Ben Dorsey too, so I can, you know, I can use all of these, I'm pretty sure. First Clinchfield River Bridge, and then the 1-track beam bridges, which are nice, but anyway. Sorry, let's get back to work. I just wasted a whole bunch of minutes looking through bridges. I like bridges. Anyway, let's finish brownifying these, and then we can start putting thing in them. In the meantime, I'll address some of these comments. I'll cover Masons first because it's short and I can get it out of the way. There's really no like precedent for the order of comments, so I will just do this one. Oh, I'm realizing that we're missing some water here, so let me fix that first. Mason says, I'll build you a substation on its own 1-tile route so you can import it and copy it to the power plant if you would like. It would connect to the power plant and transmission lines with actual wires. I would totally love that, actually. I'm already thinking of absorbing TJ's route, and having little bits and pieces to pull from would make my life easier. And I'm not worried about the idea that, I didn't do it all by myself, so therefore it's not authentic. It's still authentic. It's, I use things from other people. I'm putting assets together. A bit of a route is just another asset. It's figuring out where to put it is what matters. And so, I will figure out where to put it. Now, the power station is going to go, power station is going to go on the other side of the map, on the north side. So, there is that. It'll be a while until we get there. But it is the way it is. I do have some minor plans for that, and I was looking at power stations. And, last episode I was. And I haven't really thought any more about it since then. But, yeah, it's going to be the kind of thing where I am going to have to sort of temper that. I was looking at coal mines, because Ben Dorsey made an awful lot of coal mines, and some of them are, X number of tracks or whatever. But the ones I'm really thinking about is, okay, how do I make a really authentic coal mine setup? And, Chris said he would help me with that when the time comes. And, realism, blah, 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 Shrek's hut. So, anyway, I'll address one of the other comments now, because I wanted to get into this one. And, of course, Icer has left me a nice long comment to talk about, with plenty of talking points, plenty of things to think about, and this one of the starter comments, or the first, bit, has got me really thinking. So he says, "Hey Ellis, long time no see, so I was wondering, and am not sure if you have talked about this, what does each railroad to on this map? Like, what do that do, as in, is there an industry that they only do? I know some railroads had good relations with each other, and some wanted nothing to do with each other. For example, New York Central and Pennsylvania Railroad." And yeah, so you kind of make a good point, because I haven't really put too much thought into the ways the ways the railroads interact. Now, there are definitely areas that one railroad totally controls. There are definitely commodities that one railroad does the best at by far. One of those is passengers. The Gilson Eastern is the passenger hauler. People really don't take the VMR to get across the peninsula, even though that's it's a shorter route. It's just not what they do. And similarly, people don't take the Zion and Skyline passenger services very much, even though they try to promote it. They just can't stand up. The only good thing that they have going for them is the fact that they operate in a different market than the Gilson Eastern. So, and the Gilson Eastern did once try to cut into that market. They wanted to get into the east-west market for passengers, but it never panned out for them, and we're going to be building that section in a little while. In version 0.04, alpha 0.04, we're going to be building that section. And that's the kind of thing where it's like, okay, well, how would they go about cutting into that market, and why would they care so much? And the other ulterior motive was coal. And coal is also really controlled by the Zion and Skyline. So in those areas, the Gilson Eastern, one is trying to get into the other's market and really just can't. The Gilson Eastern really just can't get into the coal market. It just doesn't have the ability to. And similarly, the Zion and Skyline just doesn't have the ability to get into the passenger market. They're just not set up for that. They're not in the right area. Now, the Volga Mountains is kind of the all-arounder, just sort of random railroad that does everything in its area, because it's one of these railroads that touches a lot of area and doesn't do a whole lot there. It doesn't focus on one specific thing. It is a coal hauler, but it was designed as a way to get across the mountains instead of going around them. It was designed as a way to sort of beat the Gilson Eastern at their east-west time, and I'm going to try and set it up so that they can do that. We'll see if it actually works out like that. I don't know if the Zion and Skyline is going to, or not the Zion and Skyline, the Volga Mountains Railroad is going to have a competitive time. They might not. I don't know. Just because their terrain is so rugged, relatively speaking, but the Gilson Eastern goes in totally the wrong direction. So, I don't know. It's kind of a lot to think about. It's a lot of, I can't do that math right now because I just don't know. 200 miles at 60 miles an hour is, 3.5 hours or so, right? Yeah, 66. Yeah, it's 3 and 2/5 hours. And so if the Gilson Eastern has an average speed of that, and I want their route to be about 200 miles. If they have an average speed of that, that means the that means the VMR has to have a route length, a little bit more, a little bit less, a similar time from one end to the other. Oh, so that's it. That's the swamp right there. This is the edge right here. And in fact, I'm going to push this edge out a little bit because this whole area is pretty swampy. And we're probably going to cover this over again with something else in the meantime. Oh, there is a little lake right there, so I'll dip that in a second. Oh, it's just some Z fighting because this area is it is a dip, and it goes down to 0. And I did fill it in with water just in case we did go lower on this area, which I now plan to do. See how the world changes at our fingertips? It's beautiful. So let's fill this in. We're gonna have to go over this with the lighter stuff in a very short amount of time. Turn that down. Okay, we've got a sliver lake right there. And there we go. That's the extent of the swamp. That's all the swamp. And then this area is going to be forested. More or less. Give or take. It's like this area. This area is all new with the forest. It's just forest, and it's something that it looks like digital camo, This did not have anything in before. It stopped right over here, if you guys recall. Although I think this area wasn't filled in either. Oh, you know what? I never did the bushes up this way. Oh, because I don't think, finished that edge. Anyway, this area is good, and I made this area open so that you can see the train doing the weave, because I thought that would be nice and cinematic. But I do need to get the trees all the way down the hillside. Now, there are supposed to be some areas without trees, and we've got to mark those edges off with grass, and yeah, we shall see how that ends up working out with the sort of gravelly edges that we're going to be seeing. But how close are we to connecting this? We're actually pretty far. So, this area needs to have the grass finished up, and then it can be covered over with trees, and then all the way through here. So that's a good 1, 2, 3, 4 tiles. So that's about, well, plus this area, it's got to be 3 miles, 3.5 miles that needs to be filled in there. So, yeah, the VMR at this point has a lot more scenery than the Gilson Eastern does, which is admittedly kind of weird. Anyway, yeah, so that's that. So you have the Gilson Eastern would like to get into the coal market. It really can't. The Zion and Skyline would like to get more into the passenger market, but they're just not in the right place for it. Check that. Water. I don't have water. Oh crap, I'm already thirsty. My throat's already getting dry. And we're like 30 minutes in. 23 minutes in. Oh, this is not good. If I disappear for a second, I ran to get water, and I apologize. Or juice. I have a glass of juice upstairs. Should I run for it? Maybe later. If it comes down to it, I will. I'm not gonna, I'm not gonna end the show like, but that's them. That's that's their rivalry. They would like to be rivals, but they can't. The place where they do have an active rivalry, though, is their commuter services just south of Gilson City, because they run parallel there. And that area is fairly competitive. There are suburbs, there are other towns, but there's also a lot of freight traffic, and they have to contend with that. The Gilson Eastern, as you would expect, has a straighter route, and it follows the coastline a little bit more, which, you'd think that's an oxymoron, but the reason that the The Zion and Skyline Railroad doesn't is because they run to a couple of towns that are more inland. They run to a major industrial town, and they run to a sort of, I guess you could call it a suburban town, but it's really not suburban at all. It's just a town called Tombstone. And we're going to need to fill this in with the other texture. Now, that said, okay, so get that out of the way, and then the other passenger rivalry is all of the commuter services within Gilson City. So that would be the Zion and Skyline, the Gilson Eastern, and the New Shoreham Tramway all competing. Although it's mostly the New Shoreham Tramway, and they handle all of the, the really light-duty metro stuff. Even the elevateds and stuff like that. I want to have some subway stuff. I just feel like it's too much work and not enough payoff. But we'll see if it seems to turn out like that. We'll see if I really have the impetus to do that. There may be some areas in far downtown where those subways would have been torn, or where those L's would have been torn down, or at the very least moved underground. It's just the thing with that in that area is that there's a really high water table, and so subways are not as cost effective as you might think. Because of where it is, there isn't a whole lot of really solid bedrock to deal with. As where they are in like a terminal moraine. This is not New York City. In fact, I'm modeling Gilson City more after Providence than anything, because I feel like Providence is about the right size for what I want. And that's really, it's about the right size. It had, the same industrial capacity. It had a pretty hefty industrial capacity back in the day. It had things that it was pretty well known for. It had a port, and it had a lot of railroads coming into it. So, well, it had a lot of railroads coming into it way back in the day. And then after it didn't, it just had the New Haven. But it's going to be a mix. Just the general shape of the place, I'm going to do Providence with. Or I'm going to base off of Providence. Not only because I'm very familiar with it, but because of the other things I mentioned, namely, or mainly perhaps, just because it's the right size. I can build a city of that size. It's not super crazy. It's not Boston. It's not New York. It's not, Montreal or Washington, D.C. It is... I actually don't know I don't know how big Montreal is. But it's something that's that's a moderate size. It's something that I think I, as a singular individual, can do. In a decent number of episodes. And by decent number, I mean like 100? I don't know. I don't know how long that would take me. I don't have any idea. I don't have any, real hardcore thoughts about, it's gonna take this long. I have no idea. I just don't know. So it remains to be seen how much time it actually will take. And, I may draw inspiration from other places when we finally get there, but that's a long way off. Looking forward, it's probably going to be, version 0.3 is going to be the next 15 miles to Bellington. 0.4 is going to be those branch line connections. 0.5, I don't know. It really depends on what I'm feeling like doing at that point. Do we want to push another anywhere from 15 to 30 miles down the Gilson Eastern? Do we want to push farther into the mountains on the VMR? And those are really our two options. It's like, which one do I want to do? And I guess it'll just be more up to what do I feel like I need to do, because I'm out of room now. I can't do any more programming because I'm out of room, because I don't have anywhere for the trains to go. And to be fair, Bellington won't help that much. So what I really need to get doing is I need to get to Gilson City. And I don't necessarily want to save that for last. I really don't want to save that for last, because that's a massive undertaking. And it'll be sort of the crowning jewel, but I think that doing that at the midpoint of route work is really what I'm going to want to do. But the thing is, again, with the I don't know where I'm going to be at, I don't know what my headspace is going to be when we get there, and I don't know what I'm going to feel like is the best course of action. I do know that the next two things I need to do are those two things. I know that I need to go to Bellington before I go anywhere else, because before I go up the VMR more, I have to build those branch lines, and before I build those branch lines, I have to go to Bellington. So no matter what, Bellington is next. No matter what I really want to do, I have to do Bellington next. So I'm not sure if there's going to be something that comes up that makes me feel like, oh, I should definitely go this way now. But I'm thinking, and I have two options, but I might go for the VMR. So 0.6 might be another stretch up the VMR, maybe not all the way to Summit, but all the way to another important location, another location that's, as important as the bridge, or as important as Adams, or as important as whatever the town is on the other side of the bridge. I don't have a name for it. And it's gonna be that same town. It's gonna be the town that I'm currently sort of building with the trolley and whatever. So, maybe I should start building over there. But what I'm probably gonna do is leave that area kind of blank for now, and come back to it later. And even with the terrain over there, I might look into doing more of it in the future. So I want to rim this with shrubs, but this area is going to be trees. That's why it's left open. It's just too high to really be swampy. Whereas that area over there is flat. So, it'll just be the way it is. It'll just be all these shrubs, all these bushes. So, yeah. Now, what else have we got in terms of rivalries? We've got the coal rivalry between not between the Gilson Eastern and the Zionist Skyline, but between the Volga Mountains and the Zionist Skyline. The Volga Mountains doesn't have a whole lot of coal to contend with, though. But it's just that, up in the mountains, even though the Zionist Skyline has pretty much committed 100% to their main line, because they make bank off of their coal, they both had sort of a web off, where they both built a lot of little branch lines. And for the Zionist Skyline, a lot of those branch lines still exist because they carry coal. For the Gilson Eastern, for the VMR, a lot of those branch lines still exist because they can't bring themselves to get rid of them. They're usually pretty worthless. They went out there, it was a minor deposit of coal or some other mineral, and that's it. The reason, or the way that they do get along, though, is that the VMR supplies a lot of the iron ore that then gets moved onto the Gilson Eastern and taken down, or the VMR, or the Zion and Skyline, depending, and taken over to the steel mills in Zion. So they do work together on some things. Some railroads, they do work together. Even the ones that hated one another, there was cargo that went between them. Because it doesn't matter how much you hate someone, it doesn't matter how much you have a rivalry with another railroad, you're not going to turn down the opportunity to make some money. Because, guess what? That's what you're there for. I'm not being careful with this at all. I'm just filling it in so it looks like there's more under the shrubs. I don't know how that's really going to affect things, but I feel like it's helping. I'm just going to use it in places where I can see through the shrubs too much. So anyway. Now, what else? Now, I haven't thought about too many other commodities. Now, I know that the other thing is the way the VMR really trounces the Gilson Eastern is on moving lumber. Because for the Gilson Eastern, it's a really long way to take something from one side of the peninsula to the other. And passengers don't mind because they will pay the premium fare, get a really, nice, luxurious ride, and, and I don't know, it might be quicker. Especially on the express trains, it might be quicker. So, and we'll see. We'll see if it is or if it's not. I want to try to make it competitive. I want to try to do that. Now, that is going to be difficult. So, the thing is, I might be incentivized to build more VMR just so that I have an idea, because it's pretty easy to shorten or lengthen the Gilson Eastern, because all I have to do is make the peninsula longer. But if I build all the way out to Gilson City, and then I go, oh crap, this is way too short, there's no way the VMR is going to be able to compete with this, then I'm kind of SOL, because there's no way I can make the VMR faster. So, yeah, then at that point I'm screwed. There's really no way I can make the VMR, whoops, I clicked off the window, VMR shorter or longer, really. So, it remains to be seen in what order I'm going to do that, and again, I don't want to do Gilson City last, because that's a great thing to get hung up on, and get stuck on, and never finish, because it's just going to be so daunting. But, the swamp is pretty daunting, I'm still working on it. But the thing is, this is a lot of bushes. The thing is, building Gilson City last, or second to last, because I've still got to go out to the Meridian, I've got to go out to Meridian Isle, and I've got to do all that. It might give me the opportunity to really tailor the route to the way I think it needs to be. Now, if I need to add a lot of time in Gilson City, what I might do is, instead of extending the peninsula, what I might do is build some twists and turns in there. It happens, oh, god damn it! God damn it! God freaking damn it. I moved the edge of the window again, and now it's 1280 by 770, and I have to put it back to the way it was, and now I'm going to have to stitch those two things together. And I'm not even sure if that, I'm not sure if that breaks the recording, I'm not sure if it has to be fixed. Let me see. That's not the right thing. Let me get rid of these. I apologize, hold on. Alright, so there's going to be a little bit of black in there while I organize it. Let me do something real quick. Sync. Sync. And that really isn't a great synchronization. That's not a great way to do it, but it's something. It's good enough. Damn it. I hate it when I have to... When I screw up and I have to put in extra work. I've already clicked off the window so many times, I should have known and should have been more careful. In fact, I should just lock the window. I'm not sure if I can do that. And I know some of you are going, well, why do you play in a window? And it's so that, A, so that I can get the right resolution, and B, so that I can click off of it. Because if I'm not, if I'm not doing under construction or whatever, then there's, then I'd like to jump out and be able to, change songs in iTunes or go into Skype or whatever. I'd like to be able to see my taskbar, and see if I have a message or something, because who knows, it might be important. What is this? That's nothing important. Yeah. Whoops. Yeah, so let me fill in this just to make it look a little bit better. You know what? Oh, you know what I need? I need like a swamp maple. Do I have a swamp maple? River birch. I do have river birches. Those are good enough. They might not be swamp maples, but they're good enough. I'm just going to put them in these areas. let me see. Do I have a... I would love a swamp maple. I have sugar maples. I have these things, which are sort of like swamp maples. These are not speed trees. These are broken. Wow. Are these speed trees? Or are they? They're all the same. Yeah, they're not. Oh well. They look kind of high poly too. I'm gonna be honest. Sugar maple. That would be nice. Big leaf maple. No, it's not gonna be a big leaf. That's for sure. Fast maple group. No. Maple shrub. Mountain maple. Oh, maple shrub is too small. The sugar maples could do it, but they're too thick. See, the thing is, although to be fair, I had a swamp maple growing up, and it was pretty thick around. It had some girth. I'll add some sugar maples. It doesn't look so desolate anymore, but I'm not sure if that's a bad thing. I think it kind of is a bad thing. Yeah, I'm breaking it up. You guys tell me what you think. You think I should add some river birches or swamp maples or both? Or sugar maples, I guess. It would be sparse. It would be like that. I wouldn't add more. But yeah. That's what I would do. This area is going to have some trees too. We filled in a pretty big area there. Okay, back to work. So I'm going to go until 1:30 on this recording, and then yeah, I really could use a drink. God damn it. Of course nobody's here to get me a drink. Clear that, go back into that. Okay. So yeah. I don't know which railroads really work really well together. Because of the fact that, they are sort of all infringing on one another's territory. There's not really an area that's, that is, oh, one needs the other for something. There aren't a lot of super friendly connections to be made. There are definitely trains that come off the, and I'll plan this later. For passengers' sake, there are definitely trains that come off the Zion and Skyline, because the Zion and Skyline goes all the way west off the map. Wait, no, east off the map, and onto the Gilson, onto the VMR and down to Jefferson and off the map. Off the map onto Jefferson. Same difference. But that's really it for this working together. It's these passenger connections. Although, oh yeah, and because the coal, the iron ore. I mean, the iron ore is definitely one of those. Because the iron ore cannot get to the mills directly. There's no way for it to do that. This area needs some work. It needs some texture. This texture. Okay, that's what I already had. Just wanted to make sure. Now, I don't know. It's probably something. These things are going to organically develop as time goes on, and I do need to get other questions. I think, which sucks because I do want to continue thinking about it, and I probably will come back to this because it's actually a great question. And again, it's one I hadn't thought about nearly enough going into this, and I sort of was tossing around the thing with the passenger transfers and stuff like that. But it's something that, yeah, I'm definitely going to have to think more about. Because they're all rivals. They're crammed into this little space. There are only so many resources to go around. You've got coal, which is, coal and some minerals, which are mostly on the north side of the peninsula. Or no, north is that way. Mostly on the south side of the peninsula. And you've got passengers, which are kind of around the edge, but really concentrated in a couple of spots. And you've got wood, trees, which are mostly on the north side of the peninsula. And except on the north side of the peninsula, there really isn't as much manufacturing. So things are more built up on the south side, despite the fact that the south side has more rugged terrain. And, it's again, it's always a race. It's always been a race from north to south. And the two railroads that participate in that primarily are the VMR and the Gilson Eastern. And then the Zion and Skyline sort of does its own thing because it's just in a different area. It doesn't, it's the outlier here. But they do overlap a little bit. There is certainly plenty of overlap. And there are multiple towns where the VMR and Gilson Eastern overlap. There is one town where the VMR meets the ZNS, the Zion and Skyline, and there are multiple towns where the where the ZNS and the Gilson Eastern run parallel. There are areas with like 6-track main lines because you've got 4 mainline tracks of the Gilson Eastern and 2 of the Zion and Skyline. The Zion and Skyline is also mostly 2-track, but there are areas of single-track. It depends on the terrain in the area. There are going to be some pretty hefty gorges that the ZNS has to get through. Because it comes in on the south side of the peninsula, where, again, stuff is a little bit more rugged and a little more difficult to lay track through. So, mostly it's going to be a we'll see. Anyway, I'm going to move on. Also, I've started back on building my fiction Eastern Valley Railroad again, so I'll try to get as much done as I can, so you can do a route review on it before the end of the year. Awesome. So you'll have something from me that close to 80% done of the section I give you, but for the whole route it'll be about maybe 10% done, so it'll be a large route build. Yes. Never give up. This route will have some areas that are from a DEM file too, like really big yards, and even areas based off of real areas too, as they'll be mostly from the NS rail lines. Now, I am looking forward to that, because I love doing route reviews. I love exploring other people's routes. Especially when there's like little bits to find and stuff like that. But really I just like seeing the track work and, and the ways that you solve the problems that you came up with. Or, even the problems that like a DEM threw at you. Now, I know DEMs are usually used because you get this, you get an area that a rail line already goes through, and, you just lay rail on top of the rail. And that can be super helpful and super awesome, because it gives you realistic terrain, because it is real terrain. And all of the hard surveying is done for you already. All you have to do is put the track down. So, yeah, they are seriously awesome. I love DEMs. I've never used one, though. If I wanted to, which I do want to, but I absolutely don't have the time to do, to do an undertaking like this. If I could go back and redo the Iron Horseman from scratch, I would absolutely build it in a DEM, because we've figured out where all the towns are on a map, and it's really, really difficult and nigh impossible terrain, which is why there isn't a rail line there today, and there never was. But it's sort of a northerly route through the Cascades in Washington, and that is really, really difficult. And yet, I would love to be given that DEM and go, okay, we're going to make a railroad through here, and just, see what I would get. And I mean, the area is, it was formerly a wagon road. I think the North Cascades Highway, sort of runs through, some of it, maybe not all of it, but some of it, at least the old main. And I want to drive that someday. And there's definitely a way through. It's just not easy. It is, it's difficult. It'd be, really damn difficult in the winter. There would be some steep grades. There would be some pretty hefty altitudes that you'd get to, and probably some gorges that needed to be crossed. It would look different than the Iron Horseman we know. But I would love to try and bend it to, what the Iron Horseman is. And honestly, part of me still wants to try it just as a surveying activity. Not even as I'm going to make it look nice. But okay, let's build, a few 100 miles of railroad, or, however far it is, on camera, and just see if I can make a railroad through it that isn't completely absurd. I'm guessing the answer would be no. But if anybody wants to, if anybody would like to see me do that, anybody would like to see me survey that and just see, just to make the attempt, if somebody makes a dem for me of that area, and I can point it out, I can look at it on a map at some point. If anybody's interested, really, just hit me up on Skype, and I will see. I'll see if I think it's something that I really want to do. Because it's different. It's different. There aren't any other games, really, that challenge you in the same way. There are games that challenge you in similar ways. Like, Transport Fever, you have to plan your route. You got to get over mountains and crap like that. But it's not real. The terrain is not real. It may be realistic, but everything's compressed. You don't have nearly as much room as you do in real life to play with. And the other thing is, you are constrained by a budget. Well, you can turn that off, but you are. And as much as I, as much as I find the route planning in Transport Fever really interesting and entertaining, the fact of the matter is, I don't think that it presents the same type of challenge as the kind of stuff we've been doing here. Where, we might not be, and I may not be, following any real strict rules. I'm trying to follow certain rules. But I may not be following any, super strict rules about how I'm building these lines. But in the end, I'm still building them, and I'm planning them, I'm surveying them. The terrain, it's something that I make, but it's something that I make fairly randomly, and, I can make changes to it if it gets too out there. And to be fair, for the sake of the Iron Horseman, and also due to the fact that we didn't actually know where we were when we designed the Iron Horseman, all of the lore fell into place long after we figured out the characters, the setting, all that. And by the setting, I just mean the railroad itself. Just the plan of the routes. And not, not whatever else. Not, it being in the Pacific Northwest. Us being in this quasi-US country that's not exactly the same. The geography isn't totally the same. There are areas that, there's a big river where there shouldn't be a big river. Or there's a gorge, or there's, a mountain range. This area is impassable, whereas in real life it's like, yeah, there's a main line that goes right through there. So, it's different. It is different, but I would love to do it and just see how closely I can match it and say, okay, this is what it's really like. And I wish we could go back and do it from scratch, and that way I could do it that way, and I could see, okay, yeah, this is what it's really like. And this is what we have to play with, not whatever we came up with. This is our world. Because I like that a lot more. It puts a lot more constraints on it. It keeps it from being a little bit more ridiculous, and it helps with suspension of disbelief. If you look at the Iron Horseman route map and everything, and you look at the areas that we travel through, it's like, well, that's kind of ridiculous. Why does this river do this? And why would you build this way? And why this and why that? And I totally get it, because I have those questions, and I was the one that designed the route. I don't know. It's that way because we thought it would be cool. And a rule of cool is great and all, but when you're building a railroad that's supposed to be real, you have to make it realistic. And I know it may be a stretch to call the Iron Horseman Chronicles and the Iron Horseman Railroad realistic. But the fact of the matter is, when I'm writing scripts, I try to adhere to things that could happen in real life. As absurd as that might sound. Or in real life, in a world where these things are possible. And that's why I've thought pretty significantly about how the world really works. And it's difficult, but it's true. Anyway, so you're going to have mills milling for the industrial area. Is that a thing? Did I put that down? I don't think that's a thing. Is that a thing? I don't know. I assume you're making a joke. I just don't know. I don't get it. I get it. I get that it's funny that it's the alliterative Miller's, Miller's Mills Milling. I should definitely have that, because that's pretty funny when I go to name places. But that's the wrong thing. But that's, that's just the way it is, I guess. No, but Miller's Mills Milling. Also, it's just TNT, so nothing to worry about, nothing will happen, no explosions either. Also, with those SAP Industries, I hope you have fun trying to figure out how they work when setting up the loading and offloading materials, because if you can use them and figure out a way on getting them to work, then I'll follow your instructions on getting any of the SAP Industrial to work on my own routes. Oh, crap. So what you're saying is, what you're telling me is, I'm about to write the book on doing it, because you don't know how to, and it's a pain in the butt. Great. Awesome. Well, I will make the attempt, and if I do figure it out, I will, talk about it and give sort of a rundown of how I got it to work. Now, alternately, I can just put a multiple industry on top of it and call it that. Just do whatever I want with it. I have my way with this industry because I don't feel like dealing with its crap. So, that's always a possibility too. I definitely might do that if worse comes to worse. So, yeah, be ready for that, I guess. Be ready for my frustrations. I still need to figure out all the industries. I still need to do all the industries in downtown Mason's Landing. It's just I haven't been incentivized to because I can't automate it. The train that will run that automation runs at late. It departs at 6 p.m. because you can't use the street running during the day. It departs all of it at 6 p.m. It goes down there. It does everything that it needs to do. And so, I might leave that the way it is. I might not touch it until I can get to 6 p.m. I don't know. But I don't think I'm going to be doing that whole session for a very long time. And I think what I'm going to have to do, in the end, is either absolutely pull my hair out, which is probably going to be the case, or make a whole area work really well and then move on and make another area work really well. And just, work one little area at a time, which is not really what I'm doing. I'm just making everything in one area work. I mean, it is what I'm doing to an extent, but it's not 100% what I'm doing. When I have more route to play with, I'll be able to employ that strategy, but right now I'm doing literally everything that I can do because there's a lot that I can't do. There's a lot that eludes me because I don't have enough room. I don't have enough room, so I don't have enough time. Trains at the end of the map, and they have nowhere to go, and I suppose what I could do is actually have them delete themselves. That is an option. I'm just realizing this. I totally can do that. I'm gonna do that. There is a delete train command, I'm pretty sure, that I already have set up in the driver commands. And, while I may... Driver command. Let's check it out. Let's see. So, autopilot command, auto drive, couple, decouple, delete train, drive schedule, drive to. I want to get rid of these two. Because I can just use navigate instead. I would rather use navigate. Instant load locos, instant load from a product with a queue specified by the user. Instant load command, no, I don't need that, I'll use this instead. Instant unload is fine. IT set path. IT cancel path. I don't think I need IT cancel path. But we'll see if I ever do. Navigate to, navigate via, navigate to track marked list. This continues to break things. I think I might get rid of this. Turn it on if I really, really need it later. But I don't think I should. Reverse tram I probably will need. Run around I'll always do manually. This is useless. Terminate passenger train. Uncouples from, unload, VR set train lamps. Wait until 2, wait for random. I don't want random. Wait for trigger. I don't have delete train? I thought I had delete train. Wait. No. Oh, delete train, yeah. I went right by it. Decouple, also I want decouple, because I'm not sure, but let's see something. Decouple. Where's decouple? Where is it? I thought I just turned it on. Where is it? Oh, great. Where is it? Uncouples. Wait until notify, delete, reverse. No, where's decouple? Maybe it doesn't work anymore? Okay. I'll just do uncouples. Decouples the train to the specified vehicle. Alright, well whatever. We have delete train now. And that means I can... I can make a train just evaporate, poof, when it's quote-unquote done. And that's fine. That means that I can have all these trains disappear when they're done with their things, and that means I can do more. So, that's good. I'll do that for the future. And that means I can continue programming, because I'll just have stuff come out of staging. The thing is, I can't have more trains come from elsewhere. There's no way that I can have that happen. Because I can't get them to just appear. That's the thing. If I'm using a portal, I can get them to just appear, but then it's going to be placeholder trains, and then I'm going to have a placeholder portal. Now, I don't want to do a placeholder portal. Where's the... Oh, it's over there. Wow, this is a really big area to fill in. That's not... You know what? Hold on. Just realizing something. Give me this. Why do I have that? Oh, I know I have the sand. I hate sand. This up here. Yeah, I don't know about the SAP stuff. We'll figure it out. I think I've tried to work with it before. I don't remember if it's good. That's the other thing. I need to go in and check my dependencies on the route and see if there's anything that I can't get. So, here, let me do something real quick. Let me go installed, Tollbrand, list dependencies recursively, status. There are a bunch of modified things, warehouse DES, but I think this is Dave Snow, so it should be fine. Millstream water wheel? Uh-oh. Oh, great. I need to get rid of that. I don't think it's on the DLS. Hold on. Let me do something real quick. List assets in new window, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to say this and on download station. Wait, which one isn't? Oh, it's a script library. That's fine. I don't care if the script library is on the download station, because there's probably an older version that is on the download station and does effectively the same thing. I bet you I got that from a K&L thing, because that tends to happen. I bet you I got it from Vesti. Anyway, fill in that. All this shiny grass. Bite my shiny metal grass. So yeah. What else would these guys fight over? Yeah, so maybe the VMR is more important. Maybe the VMR is the most important one, and even if the VMR is shorter, even if I lowball it and the VMR ends up being shorter, the fact of the matter is that's fine. The Gilson Eastern provides a much more luxurious ride, a much easier ride, and it goes through more areas. You know, there are fewer. There isn't a reason why the Gilson Eastern wouldn't thrive, even if they're a longer route to cross the peninsula from top to bottom, from north to south, because they go to Gilson City. So, yeah. So yeah, I'm probably bound to do the VMR first, just to make things come out right for the peninsula as a whole. So, what I might do is, after Bellington, figure out whatever the next town is, because I haven't even thought about that, not even a little. And then build to that, maybe. And then just go whole hog on the VMR, and just build VMR for a long while. And that includes branch lines and other junk like that. You know, I don't want to get too far away from an area where I need to build something, unless it's a main line that I haven't touched yet, like the current end of the Gilson Eastern, or the current end of the VMR. So, if I go and start doing VMR, now I talked about the network of branch lines that is up there. That means I'm probably going to have a lot of, we're going to do the next version where we build stuff over here. Also, this is how the versions are going to work. You know, when I am done with an area and I'm ready to move on to the next major section, then I'm going to call it a version. You know, alpha, whatever. We're going to be in alpha until all of the track is done. And all of the sections are done. And then beta is going to be primarily for getting the session to work. And so that means that you might see me dial back on, I can't really do a whole lot of construction. I have to go back and forth between the session and, surveyor. But the thing is, with the session, I can't get that far along. I only have 2 hours. So that means I'd probably have to go through and I'd have to find everything that's wrong and I'd have to troubleshoot it, for the first 2 hours of the session. And then I'd have to back out and I'd have to do more work. And the thing is, I don't know how that's going to work for my schedule. I don't know how it's going to work just in general. The thing to do might be, once we've nailed down, once we've nailed down part of the session and it works all the time and it works really well, go into a thing where beforehand I start the session a certain amount of time before I start the episode, whether that be 2 hours or whether that be 20 hours before I start the episode, and then I start the episode. I come back later. And some of those timings might be particularly difficult. Some of those timings might involve me going to sleep and then setting an alarm and then getting up and then going and making the episode. But I do intend to work on it for at least 2 hours a week. And the working on it may be, it may be 1 day on, or 1 week on, 1 week off of 1 week we watch the route for 2 hours and we write down things that are wrong and figure out why. and 1 week we troubleshoot and we try to fix those things, and we change bits of the route. And now changing the bits of the route might be more than one episode. We might want to redo a large number of the interlocking towers on the route, and so that could take hours upon hours later. As time, after time has gone on, and so that might mean that we don't spend a lot of time in the route, which is fine. And by in the route, I mean in the session, which is fine because we're not doing that now anyway. We're just, whatchamahoozy. We're not doing that now. We're just building, and we're not in the session. I save session time for Sunday driving if I have the spare time to make Sunday driving, and so it really, it comes down to later we'll have a lot more work to do with regard to the automation, and that just isn't part of what I'm doing right now. I'm just building a route. That's all I care about. I'm just building the route. And that's what I want. I just want to have the route built. And then I can play on it, and then I can automate it, because I love automating, and that's the part that I can't wait to get to, but I know that it's going to be incredibly frustrating, and it might be too big. It might be, too much to do. It takes long enough to load into the route now. God knows how much time it's going to take later. And most importantly, when we have that many trains going, it just might not work. It just might not work. And I am prepared for that. I don't want it to ever come to that, but it's a possibility, and it's something that I have to deal with and live with if it happens. It's not like, this route will have been completely for naught. It's just that we won't be able to do the thing that we really wanted to do. And by we, I mean me. I don't know what you guys want. I know that you guys want me to work on the swamp, and I know that you guys want me to work on Bristol Curve as well, and I'll get to Bristol Curve in about 15 minutes. I'll go up there. Anyway, Evans... Oh, wait. Icer said one more thing. He said, so I have watched Stargate SG-1 many times and still watch it off and on at times, so yeah, it is a great show and it will always be no matter what, though I do have to say that MASH 4077 is a great show too, though not everyone knows about it or have seen it. Well, maybe not. Maybe it doesn't have the popular culture following these days of Stargate, because Stargate sort of carried on, but I don't know, MASH is a very, very popular show. MASH, it is and was. There are people that reference MASH still. It might not be as pop culture-y, but it's definitely still there. MASH, for those who don't know, it was a military show. I think it's like something Mobile Army something hospital. I don't remember what it stands for. But it's set during the Korean War, I believe, and it's these people at just an army hospital during the Korean War, and it's sort of like a Korean War Scrubs. I don't know if that's a good comparison, but it's entertaining. It was mostly a comedy. It was a comedy, it was a drama, it was, again, sort of in the same vein as Stargate. It was a little bit campy. Just in its tone, I should say. It's in the same vein as Stargate. And I've seen a little bit of it. I'm not a really big MASH fan, but I don't dislike the show. I just never have sat down to really watch that much of it. I definitely agree that it is a good show, though, because of what I've seen. Very entertaining. Very good and heartfelt at just the right times. And, yeah, I do see references to it around. My dad and my stepmom love it. They've rented, seasons from the library and have watched them to death. Right now they're on The Last Ship, which, I don't know if anybody else has watched The Last Ship, but it seems very cool, very interesting. I just wish that they had a cooler ship. I wish they had a cooler ship. I wish the last ship was not a, a guided missile destroyer or whatever that thing is. It's lame. I think it's, I think it's okay. The premise is really cool. I don't pay that much attention, because, again, they watch it and I sort of pass through. But I have sort of gleaned the basics of what's going on, and, it's the post-apocalyptic. There's only so many different ways you can go with the post-apocalyptic. And, I don't know, it's very cool. It is, I admit. It's very cool. I don't think I'd ever really, maybe I would watch it if I was into it a little bit more. Maybe if I started watching it on my own, I would, I'd binge it and go through the whole thing. I'm not really a binge watcher as is, but, maybe I would. I don't have that kind of, I guess maybe I have that addictive personality. I don't think so. Maybe I do, maybe I don't. Not sure. I tend to avoid things if I think I might. Like, I don't gamble, I don't drink, I don't do any of that, because I don't want to end up being an addict, even though I'm not sure if I would be. And also, with the drinking, it's not about being an alcoholic, it's about becoming drunk, and then God knows what I'm going to do. I'm afraid of what Ellis is, I'm afraid of what drunk Ellis is, to be completely honest. I don't want to know. It's a scary proposition to not be in control for me. But yeah. Anyway, MASH is a good show. Stargate's a good show. Everyone should watch it. I think it's on Hulu, if I recall correctly. Anyway, Evan vlogs. Hi, it's been a while. How has work been? Work has been great. Work has been super interesting. These past couple of weeks, I've been doing stuff in East Norwalk, Connecticut. This past couple of days. This is the reason this video is wicked late, because I have been exhausted because I had a 14-hour shift 2 hours from home, and then a 10-hour shift 2 hours from home, so that's another 14 hours in total. I get to charge all that time, though, so I am very happy with the money that I make from that. And aside from that, it's been just some fiber optic stuff. Same old for a little bit. But all things considered, there's a lot of cool stuff. It's always very interesting. And with how big my company is, it's like, if I wanted to go do something else, I could go do something else. We got an on-call rail contract, which means that in the state of Rhode Island, if they need railroad work done, they're going to come to us, which is awesome, because that means I get to play with Rhode Island trains some, not in a literal way, but in sort of a, get to know their inner workings, and get to affect how they're going to do things in the future. And mostly work on it, but mostly not like tell them what to do, but like, okay, we need to rebuild this railroad crossing, sort of thing. Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. It's been fun. It's been good. It's been nice. It's been a little bit boring sometimes, but I'm going to a work event in New York City at the end of this week, so again, expect another really, really late one, because I'm going to get back on Saturday, and it's a Terminus weekend, and that takes precedence because I need to coordinate with people to do that. Now, for those who, are around or whatever, if you watch the Terminus, if you care, usually recorded on a Saturday night. If not, it's recorded on Sunday. And if you're in the Terminus guest list, the Skype group, which you can get to from the link in the description of all of the Terminus episodes, or at least all of the newer ones, we put out an announcement there when we were ready to film. So the idea is to be around, on like a Saturday night or so. And I think what I'm going to start doing is I'm going to start putting out like we will be recording tonight thing in the morning. To get your news in and, sort of get ready, because because it's better if people have more of a heads up. That means you have a better chance of getting on, and we have a better chance of having a good number of guests, or a good number of potential guests, a good number of people trying to get on. What we do is we ask a trivia question, and whoever answers it correctly first gets on the show. And the person who asks the question sort of rotates between all the members of the podcast. So I go, and then either Weibel or Chris goes, depending on who's on, and then either Milky or TBA goes, and then TJ or Jader goes. And then it wraps back around to me. And if somebody isn't there, if neither of those people are there, it skips them, and it moves to the next set of people. So we've had instances where we had neither Weibel nor Chris, and it was their turn, so it just got moved on to TJ, I think, was there. TBA was there, or Milky, or somebody. And if you're an engineer, you take precedence over a fireman, but that doesn't matter for you guys, because you guys are all guests. You guys would all be guest brakemen. Whoops. We give the guests the most dangerous job on the train. Because we could fire you. We could throw you off. Standard procedure. So, yeah. Anyway, yeah. I'll be taking the train out to New York City. Looking forward to it. Not taking the Acela. Oh, well. Oh, but while I was out there, I'm going to talk about this on the podcast if I remember. While I was out there at East Norwalk, I saw a private car, which isn't something you see on the back of a regional very often. It was a private car Berlin from the American European Express, or the American Orient Express, or whatever you want to call it. It went through a bunch of names. And it's the last one, I believe, it's the last one still painted like that. The other cars, a lot of them still exist, as far as I understand, but it's the last one that still looks like the American Orient Express, or the American European Express. Very cool. Very, very cool. It was just like, I looked up and I was like, what? Whoa. Like, that was a private car. And then I immediately texted Graham and was like, do you know anything about this private car? He was like, no, I haven't seen it. Apparently today he's going to see like 5 of them because he's a foamer. But, yeah. That's been my escapades at work. What do you think about ships? Now, that's the second part of his question, or the second question. Not totally sure what you mean. I'd like you to be more specific. I assume you're asking just in general, because that's that's sort of what I have to go off of. I mean, I like ships. I don't think I would really go on a cruise. I'm not one to go on a cruise. It kind of sounds boring, to be honest. Or, well, maybe not boring, but it's not my bag, baby. It's the sort of thing where it's like, yeah, it's really cool. It's, a floating casino or a floating resort or whatever, but it's like, why go to the floating resort? And it's like, okay, because it takes you to all these places. It's like, but why don't you just go to those places? Why spend an arm and a leg on a cruise and, be stuck on the boat and, be under somebody else's schedule? It's like, I don't know. I don't see it. I'm not really enthused by the notion of taking a cruise. Maybe if it was like an Alaskan cruise, maybe if it takes you out to, or like a Norwegian cruise where it goes to fjords and you see all these cool terrain things, you follow the coast and whatever, but if it's like you're just toting around in the Mediterranean, going to a bunch of places, it's like, if I'm gonna do that, I'd rather just take the train, because that's me, and at least that means you get some scenery. You might not have a lavish hotel room, but you get to see some really cool stuff. I'm not. If I want to go to an amusement park, I'll go to an amusement park. If I want to go to a casino, God forbid, I'll go to a casino. If I want to go out to dinner, I'll go out to dinner. And it's like, yeah, it's cool to have all those in one place, but I don't know. I don't feel like it. I don't feel like it's worthwhile for me. I don't think I'd be that entertained. Maybe I would be. I probably would be. But maybe I'd get stir crazy too. I've never been on a boat for really that long. I've been on for a couple of hours, on ferries or whatever. And I know that's wicked different. That's about as different as it gets. But like riverboats, stuff like that, yeah, they're cool. But I feel like the novelty of just schmutzing around in a boat for that long really wears off. Maybe if I was going somewhere. Maybe if I was going somewhere where, it was a mode of transportation, because that means it's about the journey and it's about the destination. And a cruise line, you go to a bunch of places, but you're there for a short amount of time, and you basically just get dropped off in a sea of tourists and tourist-oriented things, and it's like, maybe I don't want to do that. Maybe I want to, sort of explore at my own pace and see these things, and it's like, you can't spend that much time in a place because the boat's going to leave without you. And then you're going to be screwed. And it's not like you can get on the next boat. So, maybe if it was like a transatlantic cruise, maybe if it was, you get on the boat and you're on there for, a few days or a week or whatever, and you wind up in, somewhere in England or somewhere in the Mediterranean, and it just drops you off, and then you book another ticket back. But unfortunately, the transatlantic cruise, what's the word? The transatlantic cruise market sort of dried up a little while ago. I'm wondering why. I think it might have to do with these things that are called planes, and that take you across a hell of a lot faster. Same thing with airships. Very cool, very nice, very luxurious. And you can make that journey at a pretty decent clip. It's faster than a boat. It's less luxurious, but it's faster. But it's like, most people really are just trying to get there, and so they will take the speedy option. And that speedy option is taking a plane, which you also pay an arm and a leg for. So yeah. But that's just my opinion on cruises. I love boats in general. I think they're really cool, not to the extent to which I love trains, but I do love ships. There's a reason why in the Zombie Train I write about, or write and talk about the escapades with, the USS Constitution and the other tall ships and the Liberty ships and stuff like that. It's, I love it. I find them really, really cool. They're a fairly unique mode of transportation. Any mode of transportation is fairly unique because it's, it is what it is. And if something was similar to it, it would just be, sort of contained within that moniker. You go by road, you go by rail, you go by sea, you go by air. That's really all you've got. And ships are really, really, really cool. Everything from cargo ships to warships. Obviously, warships are particularly interesting just because of the way they're designed, the way they're designed to take hits, and the way they're designed to keep functioning after, after damage and stuff like that. Most things aren't. Even tanks. A tank, if you get damaged, if you get beaten up, if you get shot up, you're probably bailing out of the tank. You probably don't stay in the tank for very long after that. But a ship, it's like, yeah, you're stuck with the thing. If it's going down, you better fix it, because that's your, that's your ship. If it goes down, you're screwed. And, in modern day, that's not so bad, because we've got lifeboats, and we've got life jackets, and we've got, other ships that'll come and pick you up, or whatever, and planes that'll find you. But back in the day, it was like, and even... Yeah, back in the day, it's like, oh, we're getting shut up. We got damage. We have water coming in. You need to patch it up. You need to, you need to do this. You need to do that because the ship's going to go down. We might not be able to swim. And this, we don't have lifeboats. It's like, this is it. This is our ship. This is all we have. If it goes down, we're screwed, and we just need to limp back to port. And that happened a little bit more as technology became more advanced as well. It wasn't so much in the Age of Sail, or at least it wasn't as much in the Age of Sail, because in the Age of Sail, really, there were a lot more ship captures that happened. It was, you shot them up, you killed the crew, you took down their rigging, and now they're immobile. And so you've got more people than they do left, and you get, you pull up alongside, you board them, and you take their ship, and now you have a ship. Or you hit their magazine and they blow up, and that's that. or the ship's on fire, it's not worth anything, it's going to burn to the waterline. It's the kind of thing where it was very all or nothing then, and it's very much less all or nothing now. It's very much more, you keep hits and you take hits and you keep going, but the stakes were higher then. Because the taking hits and keeping going was much of was less of a thing, and if the ship, yet, if the ship went down, you just died. You just drowned. That was it. Because, again, not everyone knew how to swim. Now it's really important to know how to swim. But, yeah. No, it's not, if you're in the Navy, it's really important to know how to swim, but it's the kind of thing where it's like, yeah, back then it wasn't so important. And if you're on a boat, you'd think you'd want to know, and it's not like you had life jackets, or life preservers, or anything like that. Lifesavers, gummies. You didn't have those either. So, yeah. I don't know. Don't know how they did it. But they did, and it was really cool. And then you have this transition to steamships. It's like, oh man, things are kicking off. And I love the era, and it might be my favorite era of ships, of just ship design, when you have both. When you have sailing ships that also operate under steam power. You have steam power and you also have some masts and stuff. And because those designs look really cool, and for those of you that have ever been on the Minecraft server, you'll know that I take a ship with me from server to server that's called the Gettysburg. And the Gettysburg is designed off of a Civil War era paddle steamer, but it also has masts. It's designed to be able to operate for lengths of time. It's designed to be able to reach high speed, at least for ships of the day. And it's designed to be able to operate silently if necessary. So either you're at speed under boiler power, or you're in silent running under sail power. And yeah, I find that really cool, as well as the Warrior. That's a British ship, also from the same era-ish. It's an ironclad warship, but it has masts for sails and stacks. And I believe it's screw-driven, if I recall correctly. Which, you have that really cool transition as well between, okay, suddenly we have all these different inventions. How do we get power from the steam engine to the water? It's like, how about big wheels? It's like, alright, we got big wheels. How about a screw? Okay, propeller, yeah. How about like a belt instead of a wheel? Oh, that could work. And these designs slowly changed, and you see this face of naval warfare changing as well, and then you're deep into ironclads and steel ships, and then suddenly you start having a huge change in sort of the meta of how ships work, and how ships square off against one another. Before it was like, okay, it's going to be versatile, we're going to have a bunch of different kinds of guns that we'll be able to use for different things. Some to take out the hull, some to take out the sails. Like, okay, we can't take out the sails anymore because they don't have them, so we just want guns that penetrate the hull. Okay, but what about, use for other ships? Well, yeah, but why do we need, smaller guns for other ships? Why don't we just always use big guns? And then it's like, boom, okay, we've got the Dreadnought, and suddenly we have battleships, and we have, these things that sort of change the way that that naval warfare is done, and the way that you design and build ships just absolutely turned it on its head. And you want something that goes fast, you want something that has a lot of big guns, and that's it. Something that has a lot of, something that can take hits, and something that can dish out hits, and something that can run away if things are too bad. If things are too bad for it, if it's outnumbered or outgunned or out-armored or something like that. And so, and you have this all within the span of, less than 100 years. Maybe even, I'm not sure if it's less than 50, but it's close. It's somewhere between 50 and 100 years, because you have the Monitor and the Virginia, which were the first ironclads. One was a conversion from a normal wooden-hulled ship, I believe, and one was, built from scratch to be an ironclad, and they were two very different designs, but they heralded a new era of shipbuilding, because it's like, oh, these are the designs now. We're building armored ships. We're building ships with steel and iron hulls so that they can withstand a lot of fire from these guns. And then it's a race. Okay, now we need guns that can penetrate that armor. And also, now all of the ships that carried the guns that were useful before are useless, because they can't do anything to these iron-clad ships. The Battle of Hampton Roads, where the Monitor squared off against the Virginia, where they both sort of duked it out, and they couldn't really do a whole lot of damage to one another, and then they eventually both called it a victory and left, which literally is what happened. I think, I believe what happened is the Virginia pulled off for repairs, and so the Monitor called it a victory and left, or, turned around to leave, and the Virginia comes back and sees the Monitor leaving and goes, oh, I guess we won, they're retreating. And so they literally both marked it off as a victory because the other person retreated. Which is silly, but funny. War, hilarious. Silly and funny. And then we bring in the ironclads. And although before that you still have the change from sail power, so yeah, it was probably 100 years. You have the change from sail power to steam power, and then the change from wooden hulls to iron hulls, and then the change from mixed guns to all guns, or, all big gun. And then you have the modern battleship, and you have the modern battleship in the 1940s, when, 100 years ago, steam-powered ships were young. And I say the modern battleship in the 1940s because we really haven't built any battleships since then. We haven't really made improvements on that, although in the modern era we're building big destroyers, which might as well be battleships. And I'm talking about the Zoom Whale, particularly. Not that the Zumwalt is very battleshipy, but that's the other thing. Now we've gone backwards. You had hull design change. You had you had clipper hulls, which were designed for fast ships. Then you had Tumbleholm hulls, which were designed for maximum internal space for storage and the amount of guns that you could fit and stuff like that. For a taller ship, because as you rise out of the water, you want to be narrower, because if you have more fat stuff above the water, you're liable to tip over. So on big ships, you have a Tumbleholm hull, which is broader at the waterline than it is at the deck. And on smaller ships, you have a clipper hull, or a clipper bow, and that's a shorter, narrower ship. That's, shaped sort of like a modern ship is shaped, like a modern warship is shaped. And then you see Tumbleholm go away. So the Monitor was neither of those. It was a river Monitor. It was a flat-bottomed, it wasn't flat-bottomed, it was flat-topped, and it just had one singular turret that could rotate all the way around. And that was also new. That was also really cool. Because rotating turrets, that was something that was fairly unheard of. It was I'm going to say it was new again. But it was revolutionary, because now it's like, oh, yeah, of course, a battleship's going to have its guns on turrets so they can swivel and point in any direction. So you no longer need to make a line of battle. You no longer need to line up a certain way. And so now you can have ships facing any which way, fighting, firing at each other. It's like, wow, that's different. That's new and interesting. And that's in, 1860s. I don't know when the Battle of Hampton Roads was. I just know it was during the Civil War. So, yeah. I don't know. It's a lot. It's very very interesting. I think ships are very very interesting, and the fact that they are used for war means that you see a lot of advancements and nuances in that advancement as time goes on. And then like I was saying with the hulls, we wrap back around to the modern day where we're building ships with Tumblehome hulls because you do want floor space and you want engine space and stuff like that. But you can get away with putting stuff lower in the waterline in a Tumblehome hull because there's more space down there. And at the same time, a smaller area above gives you a smaller radar profile, and that's what matters. Less stuff sticking out gives you a smaller radar profile. And you have these state-of-the-art stealth destroyers, which are so different than anything we've produced, really ever, but in the last 100 years or so. Because now we are reaching a point where when the utmost concern is stealth, you go back to, you don't want that much stuff above the waterline. The higher you go, the narrower you want it to get. And also you want things to be smooth. So yeah. It's very interesting. It's very cool. I love it. Alright, let's do that. And I want to extend this down that way. Oh, you know what? I said I would go over to Bristol Curve. Alright, let's go over there before I disappoint. And then it says, what your favorite locomotive? Oh, that's a hard one. When 5550 is produced, it's going to be 5550. I'm just saying that. If I had to pick a single locomotive, are you talking surviving? Or are you talking, full stop? Just ever? Are you talking class or individual engine? I don't know. It really depends. It really depends a lot, because I don't totally know. I don't know what my favorite locomotive is. I know that there are a lot of locomotives that I do like, that I find really cool. But I don't know what my favorite would be. That's a really difficult question. I want everyone to post their favorite locomotives, because I can't figure out mine. Maybe, I almost called it 1361. 3713 is, because 3713 is really cool to me, and, sort of, there's a bit of my heritage in there, being somebody who works in Boston. The Boston and Maine being what it is to me, and being one of my favored railroads. Really, Boston and Maine, if I'm going to be honest, the New Haven is my home road, because I live squarely in New Haven territory. But I like the Boston and Maine a whole lot more, because the Boston and Maine has more of that comeback kid story, whereas the New Haven just literally railed itself into bankruptcy just as hard as it could. It really wasn't trying that hard to not fail, and in fact it was trying very hard to fail, under McGuinness at least. Because, all that corporate embezzlement stuff. It's like, what is this money for? It's for the railroad. Oh, did you say it's for me? No, I said it was for the railroad, sir. Oh, sorry. It sounded like you said the railroad. I understand. I'll keep it. It's like, no, but we need that money. He's like, no, but you don't. And then there goes the New Haven. There goes the New Haven, and yeah, so that's, that was always kind of upsetting to me. It was like, you just ruined it. They had the world on lock. They had a monopoly on, transportation, pretty much all transportation in the area. they owned steamship lines, they owned trolley lines, they owned everything. And yet, they decided that the best course of action was just to keep all the money to themselves and never to actually invest in the railroad that they owned. Or in anything that they owned. And the other thing is, they were so hell-bent on getting that monopoly that it did them in. Because they wanted that monopoly so bad that if there was anybody that threatened it, they would just buy them out for a ridiculous sum, for whatever they wanted. It would be, people would go and they would start trolley lines knowing that they don't have to make any money. Or boat lines, actually. It was boat lines, because boat lines are really easy. All you need is a boat. They would go and they would start boat lines because they knew that all you needed to do was say, hey, we're going to start a boat line, and the New Haven would show up and go, you want to sell it, though? You know, are you sure you want to do that? Because we could buy it. And then they would buy it, and then you would get tons of money for doing effectively nothing, just because you threatened the New Haven monopoly. And so that, that really put a kink in their plans. I mean, I guess they did it on the railroad front pretty well, but anybody can own a frickin' boat line. Anybody. And maybe not these days, but anybody could own a boat line when people traveled by boat. Remember how the transatlantic trade sort of dried up? Yeah, I kind of did that with other thing. With just normal boat lines, too. Alright, see there, that area's done. Alright, so this is Bristle Curve. I'm not about to start dumping trees in here, because I'm not up here yet. This area needs to be... we need to put the river in. Oh, I don't want to do that. It's going to be such a pain. It's going to be such a freaking pain. And up here we need to put the river in as well, because we had it, and then we screwed it up. And the game crashed, if I recall correctly, and we lost that progress. So, alright, let's build some river. Where the river begins. Alright, so this water level is 86. And then I want to lower the middle of this by a bit, because it's not really well marked out where the river's supposed to be. I'm not sure how that'll make a difference, really, but I'm just pointing out that it isn't. And so let's go to 86 or 87. See how this goes. Nope, there's water under here. Alright, 87. Alright, so we got that much. Now we're going to have to go to 88. But yeah, so I'm sure you guys can tell that I think ships are really cool. So, favorite locomotive. I mean, again, favorite surviving locomotive might be 3713. If I could see one thing in the world, I don't know how much I would give, but if I could see one thing in the world, it would be to see an excursion with 3713 on the Pan Am Southern going through the Hoosick Tunnel. Because that would be just utterly amazing. It can't return to its own... I mean, it could return to its old stomping ground. You could have the excursion go from Boston to Portland still, but it can't return to the station that it once was at. I mean, it can't return to the other end of the B&M either, because that's Troy, and Troy Station is long, long gone. But it would just be amazing to see it travel down that, travel down the B&M main line, the real B&M East-West main line, the competitor to the B&A. And the Fitchburg line, the Western line, or whatever it was called. It originally was the Fitchburg, and then it got owned by something else. Or, well, it got owned by the B&M. But, like, the Fitchburg, it was originally owned by something else, and then the Fitchburg bought it, and then the B&M bought them. Because 1877, the Hoosick Tunnel was completed, and so that opened that up to go east-west. But after that, and the Fitchburg owned it. The Fitchburg purchased it. But the crap, I'm forgetting my history. The Fitchburg owned it. Oh yeah, the B&M then leased the Fitchburg for 99 years in 1900, I think. Yeah, something like that. So then you have, okay, no, it's not the Fitchburg anymore. It's the B&M now. And yeah, I don't know. It's a, yeah. All the railroads that were around there. I mean, the B&M did its own New Havening, really. It's similar. It's not the same, because they weren't as hell-bent on creating a monopoly. They just created a whole lot of, crap, move that. Just one long interconnected railroad. They were mergering right, is what I mean. They were just creating one long railroad east to west that could compete with the Boston and Albany, which I'm not sure if the Boston and Albany was originally built as one railroad, but it may have been, which means that it was an even larger threat. So you're basically getting these railroads that are coming together to fight the B&A, which I respect because the B&A was New York Central. Actually, I quite like the B&A. Even if it's not the real New York Central. Sorry, I said the real New York Central. It shows $9.99. No, it shows the Shays in New York City. Perfection. I want the real New York Central. It shows J3A. No, I mean the real New York Central. It shows $9.99. I said the real New York Central. Oh gosh darn it. Let me put the thing there. Let me get over this hump. Come on. There we go. Damn, I didn't think that would be that much of a rise, but it is. Oh, we're like 8 minutes from the end of the episode. I should have come up here sooner. That's my mistake. I apologize, Evan. Did I touch on all the comments? There's more I wanted to talk about. There's definitely more to talk about. I apologize for sort of rambling, but that's just what I do anyway, isn't it? Yeah, we'll have to see where the railroads go in terms of competition and competing with one another. But I think it's going to end up being rather interesting the way things mesh together. I'm glad I remembered about the delete train command, because now I can do at least a little bit more. I can't make trains appear, but I can make trains disappear. So that means that I can get all the trains out of the way that otherwise would be in the way for me to test later trains in the day. So that means I can bump up the God damn it. What is the train that's... Oh, the one that's supposed to operate Mason's Landing. That's not how that works. The one supposed to operate Mason's Landing is... it departs at 6 p.m. And so it's a little bit difficult to make that happen. Also, I want my Rapids thing. Where's my Rapids thing? The thing that Weibold showed me. It's over here, I think? Oh. Water effect. It's just a cylinder that rotates. But I want to put that here. It's a great way to separate water back in the day. It'd be nice with a sound effect, but oh well. It's kind of eerily quiet, unless my sound is off. No, it's not. It's not off. Yeah, that's cool, I guess. Okay, so let's finish this. We've got 5 minutes. Whoops. Nope. Lower the sensitivity a lot. Okay, so there's that, and now we need to go up a little bit more. Although, to be fair, we're going up a lot more right here. Actually, we're not going up that much. Not as much as I thought we were. Is this... No, okay. So this is higher. I just don't know how much higher. So we have that nice little waterfall effect at least. It does look kind of but, you know, not that bad. We've had worse. Okay, keep going. Again, I just want to wrap this up before we have to end the episode. Alright, so it's at like 108. Let me lower the radius, or let me lower the ground so that we have a continuous river. Because we don't need a lake up here. We have enough lakes in random places. That's a little bit weird. I don't know how we're going to resolve this. Actually, I'll just do this. That actually could look really cool. Hold on. Hold on. Hold on. We can figure this out. We can make it look awesome. Yeah, we got like a triple waterfall thing going on. Oh, I should throw some boulders in that river when we're done. Let me grab this again, because... Oh, weir effect. I was gonna say, it is a weird effect. So, put another one down here. Alright. Down like that. No. Grab this one now. Now, I don't think this is the greatest thing. If there's another one like it that you think is cool, that anybody likes more, say something. Yeah, I'm not gonna put that up there. That's the other thing, though. I want to scatter some rocks and some water effects around here, because that could be really cool. Yeah, this is one of the better rivers now. Alright, so we got that done. That is something that, something to check off the list, And we've got this, which is, the terrain is now done over here. That's another thing to check off the list. We did a lot with terrain today. And yeah. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope I answered everything. If anybody has, any further questions, any further comments, I'd be more than happy to answer them. Say what you, comment your favorite locomotive. That's what I want to hear. And I will talk about that. Because there are probably ones that I don't know. I don't know every engine. But, anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. And I will see you next week. Trainman out.